And we're back. My chronic illness journey, part 7. Woo! So what the next major thing that happened, actually really need to do a whole part about my mental health too, but sticking with my physical conditions for now, uh the next thing that happened was several years later. It was at that point 2018, end of 2018 in the Christmas season. I got sick. Now, at this point in my job, I was training to become an assistant manager, and I was super excited about it because that came actually with the possibility of international. And I had always wanted to try living in another country for a while. So I was super excited about this idea of getting a chance at promotion to assistant manager. And I got sick, severely ill. It's right towards Christmas, and I remember literally thinking, "There goes my Christmas pay." Uh, yeah, I'm sick right now. Um, so I got ill. I had to take off. I was out for weeks. I tried to go back because I'm in this position now where I'm trying to get promoted. I can't be out, but I was like in there a week and I got sick again and then I was out. And that went on for almost 4 months, 3 to 4 months, where like I would get sick, I would try to go back, I'd get sick again, I'd go back, and it's like different it's not the same thing. It's like, oh, you have bronchitis, oh, you have a nasal infection, oh, you have a respiratory infection. Like it kept being different things, but I kept being sick and sick and sick and sick and sick, and I'm like really struggling. And they're doing my blood test, and my white blood cells and neutrophils are the lowest they've ever been. My neutrophils were down to, it was like an 0.2. I remember they're supposed to sit like around 2-ish minimum, and they were like at an 1.7, I think is the minimum, but it's like the neutrophils I think are supposed to be like 1.7 to 2, and they were sitting at 0.2, and my white blood cells were below 1, and they're like, this is really bad, and we need to get you to a hematologist. Something's I'm like, great. And I originally went to my boss with the idea of stepping back into part-time so that I would still have a job to come back to, because I am using my vacation days, my 6 days, my personal days. The year rolls over. I'm using vacation days, personal days, sick days, leave of absence. I am out of everything. And my boss says to me, I thought you said your condition wouldn't interfere with your work. Yeah. I'm going through my biggest health scare probably ever, and that was not the support I needed. Like, you've worked with me at this point. I had been working in the company, I think, 8 years. Like, you've worked with me. Has it ever been this bad before? Like, So I went to my family at the time, and they were just like, just quit. Just quit, because you can't, until this is sorted, like until you are back on your feet, you can't work. And if, what are you going to do? So I was like, okay, you know what? I quit. I quit. But it took months to get to the hematologist. I was on a waiting list for like 2 months. And at that point, I hadn't been working or going out. My health had recovered. And so my neutrophils were still low, like they always were. They were still sitting, like my white blood cells were still sitting at like 1 point something, 1.7. My neutrophils were still at an 0.7, 0.8, but they were no longer at like an 0.2. And they ran their tests again. Ran all their tests. And They once again came back with absolutely nothing. You have neutropenia. Why do I have neutropenia? We don't know. Well, what am I going to do? I got really sick. I was sick for months. I lost my job. Like, what do I do about working? And he was just like, go back to work. I'm like, what is this going to happen again? And he's like, it was a bad season. You, with your immune system, you were going to get sick. You were going to get it a lot because even regular people were getting sick. And I'm like, but what am I going to do about work? He goes, well, as long as you're feeling healthy, you can work. I said, well, what about this, my condition? What am I supposed to do? And his response to me at the time, that's the one I was seeing, and trust me, I switched specialists off this guy, is, well, just don't work around sick people. What reality do you work in that you think you get a choice of that on most jobs? To be like, I can't work with this person because they're sick. Do you really think it works that way in the real world? Like, don't work around sick people. I can't take care of this customer. They're sniffling. I have to go home because John has the sniffles. I would lose me a job real fast. Like, reality check. I decided I needed to go to a different specialist. So I transferred to a different specialist. And they said that and it had been brought up a couple times, the possibility, but they were like, you need to do a bone marrow biopsy. We need to do a bone marrow biopsy. That is going to be the next step. Stay tuned for Friday.